Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the second panel. Let's keep the energy flowing. Cultivating Capital, Navigating Growth Finance in Foodtech and Agri-tech. And for that, I would like to invite our speakers, Horsky, founding partner, FLORA Ventures, Arik Kaufman, CEO and co-founder, Steakholder Foods, Marta, Laorden, VC Director, McWin Capital Partners, Eva Karólewska, Senior Project Manager on Startup Support EIT Foods, and of course our panel moderator, Iannone, Foodtech professional, The Food Cons. Hello. And now the stage is yours.
Hi, thanks for the introduction, and thanks to all our watchers. We are on tight time, so I would like to jump immediately to the first question about, of course, investments. So, guys, let's break the ice. Would you mind giving a general overview on global investments in agri-food tech? Eva, let's start.
Yes. Does it work? Hello, everybody. I hope you are energized and ready for our panel. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm super happy to see a lot of investors from different parts of the world coming to Warsaw and trying to understand as well a little bit the landscape from the region. So I would like to focus actually on Central and Eastern Europe. This year we published a CIT Food, a report on the state of AgTech and Foodtech in the region. What we observed, so the number of startups has been growing over those years since 2018. At this stage, ag-foodtech startups are like 4.6% of all startups, so it's very similar, I think, to the global landscape. The number of startups has been growing like 7% each year, so it's really very, very good growth. We have as well investments, of course, in the field. Startups from this area has attracted around 800 million euros. If we deduct massive rounds for Bolt and for Rochlik that were very big, and you heard about them already yesterday. Majority of this investment went to the food logistics, of course. But this is changing, as we know. Then the second one was agriculture and agtech, because traditionally the region is very strong when it comes to the agriculture, when it comes to providing the crops and providing the agriculture products. And last but not least, foodtech. So those themes are growing. We have great innovators. We need more funds. So what is important in the region, on one hand, is to leverage the public funding, of course, for CapEx and all those things that are very capital intensive. And here, luckily, we have also EU funds that we can use and capitalize on. And also, we are really looking at the investors from outside our region, who will come and will as well, show the way. Investors from the region who are maybe generalists, they don't know still much about the agtech and foodtech, but they will be much more eager and much more motivated to invest in this field.
Oh, thanks. You are growing Eastern Europe ecosystem. That's good. Arik, would you mind giving a general review on investments in agri-food tech?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Arik Kaufman. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Steakholder Foods, a publicly traded company, the NASDAQ. So I'll give my perspective, because we are not a VC. I think that not the last year, but the last few years, like 2 years, were super challenging for cultured meat companies, plant-based companies. I think that the access to funds was much more farther. Recently, like I've heard a few of my colleagues, like companies that in the past would raise in a glimpse, they are like struggling for a few years already, like to finalize their next financing round. I think that it has to do with global economics, uncertainty. Like there's a very high level of uncertainty globally, and investors do not like uncertainty. Once the levels of uncertainty are high, they are looking for companies that can showcase like a really near-term revenue stream, and all the companies as ours in the past were like farther away. We were selling a dream, a very disruptive dream, but it's a dream that was not near enough to generate revenue. So I think that it is what it is. I think the general feeling as a startup is that the access is much more difficult to funds. And I think that said, maybe it's, for looking at the half full glass, it's something positive, because I think that a few companies knew how to adapt themselves and to be more practical and less dreamers. You still need to dream always as a startup, because if you finish the dream, you're like a simple corporate. So we are still dreaming, but much more practically.
Absolutely, Arik. We will need probably a dedicated panel to this, because there was the VC bubble that blown up after the COVID. So you perfectly match that. You used to sell a dream, but this dream now must be more reality, because
Exactly.
we saw in some subsectors such as vertical farming, or even plant-based, more companies went down with drop quotation, the round size was dropped. So thanks for showing this, because unfortunately we don't have time, but it will be interesting to go deep to this topic. Jill, that's your turn.
Good morning, everybody. You know, I've been working in the food industry for the past 17 years. Now I manage my own fund called FLORA Ventures, but I started my career working for Pepsi in Mondelez. And I have to admit, you know, I always say what I think, and I think the funding environment is very tough, really tough. Whoever doesn't say that is a complete liar, okay? So that's a fact. That being said, I think, partially what Arik said, I think it's partially a good thing, and I'll explain why. As a food industry guy, I'm not smarter than anybody. Probably most people in the food industry are actually not the ones driving some of the startups here. But one thing I do know, I understand how this industry works. And in the last few years, I have to admit, I never understood what's going on in the industry. Because the food industry is tough. It has low margins. There's not a lot of M&A. Takes forever to launch a product. You need to do this. You need to do R&D. You need to do manufacturing. Sometimes you have regulation. And when we had, until 2 years ago, pretty much everybody running around with a PowerPoint for another plant-based, fish, burger, doesn't matter, and nothing against those industries, are amazing, or another delivery company in Berlin with folks, you know, putting, I don't know, gorilla costumes or whatever costumes they decide for that brand, and raising with the PowerPoint based on $20, $30, $40 million before they even started, and raising without you, as an investor, you'd have the first call and you want to have the second, they don't know, we closed the round already. Doesn't make any sense. Makes sense maybe in some other industries like cyber, fintech, SaaS, that you can have outliers. In food and ag, there are no outliers in a short time. There's just, the industry cannot have an outlier. You cannot go from a deck to, I don't know, a $50 million revenue in less than 10 years. It just doesn't happen. Maybe 5 years if you're really lucky. So I think that all of that, we had a lot of hype, we had a lot of generalist investors, all of them left already, they're not in the room, any of them from what I see, because they try to copy that playbook. So the good news with all of this is that we're back to the fundamentals of the industry. And the fundamentals are, yes, you need to have a bit of a dream, we all want to invest in dreams, but you need to show that you're cash efficient, you need to show that you know that you're going to get to the market in 3 years or 4 years or 2 years, depends on which industry you are. And the valuations need to be realistic to the industry, because this industry also has a set of exits that is, we all know them. We all know how many of them, and we know their numbers. So I think that's the change that is going on, and I think in the long term, it's going to be a healthy thing. Now, all of us are suffering from this adjustment. We all enjoyed the hype, and now I think we're coming back to reality. And that's what I see on a global level. I think it's true across all industries, sub-industries in food, and also geographies. Some areas more hurt than others, but it's an adjustment, and hopefully we'll know how to embrace it.
Oh, great, Jill. Thanks. Well, you're the last one, Marta.
Thank you. Well, I'm Marta. I come from McWin Capital Partners, and well, I fully agree with what all Gil has mentioned. I mean, we as venture capitals have a lot to say of what happened in the industry in the past. We wanted to make our founders to grow fast, to be a Spotify of the world, and yeah, to become a unicorn in one day, and that's probably impossible. But given that that already has gone, and we now found that many founders are learning from that, also VCs are learning from that, and we're being more smart on the way we identify the business, on the way we propose the business models. Also, we find smarter founders that are able to navigate the capital scarcity and that are able to unlock diversity of financial sources, which is amazing. I mean, we created this industry, we had this hype on the 2021, and now we're becoming to reality with more stronger founders. And again, this industry needs to be disrupted, and I mean, we all know it, and that's why we are here, and that there is a whole industry around the investment side. So yeah, that's what we think.
Thanks. Marta, guys, I would like just to make the first point, because I think that we can say that definitely investing are evolving. Investors are a little bit more prudent. Investors want more facts and less dream. And even you startups on the stage, you have to adapt yourself. So after this first turn of questions, I think that something very, very interesting arises. That let's jump to the second question. You all partially reply, but let's switch. Let's focus a little bit more on the macro trend technology startup that you are all watching with more interest. Eva, that's your turn.
So at EIT Food, startups are our core. So we work with startups a lot. We have our accelerator programs. We work with innovators from idea holders. We help them grow with us, and we work until they are scale-ups and they are ready to go and expand. So we also invest as EIT Food, and our mission as an organization is to transform the food system so that the healthy and sustainable food is available to all. It's a very their vision, and to achieve this, we are supporting startups from different areas, from the farm to the fork. Starting with precision farming, which is very interesting for us as well. We see a lot of solutions towards improvement of efficiency, towards a better sustainability, and so on. Usage of sensors, GPS, satellites, all those things. This is very interesting, and this will be growing, especially solutions that are very comprehensive, and they can offer a lot to the farmer, and they can be easy to be used. Also, all type of inputs to the farm, so biostimulants, pesticides, biofertilizers, all those things that are helping to the transition into the regenerative agriculture as well. This is very important to us as EIT Food, and we are investing and supporting startups from this field, such as Glea, for example, that is boosting the photosynthesis. Going further also, but still staying on the farm, of course, robotics and automations as well is very important, and it helps, for example, to substitute the human work. We know that it's a big problem in the industry, not only on the farm, but also in the food processing. Also from those like very, very interesting trends, crop genetics and seed traits. This is something that we are looking at and we are very interested, and we also have startups who are working in this field, who are, for example, helping to accelerate the perennial crops using the in vitro, not GMO solution.
Well,
yes.
Eva, very interesting. Eastern Europe looks very focused on upstream.
we are working. Yeah, we are working. It was like maybe So we are working across the whole value chain. We are working a lot of as well with circular solutions. So looking at the side streams and also, side streams from other sectors. One of the startups is called IO. You can have a look at this one, what they are doing. And we are looking at those solutions that will be in the mainstream products in 5-10 years on the market available. Also, of course, novel ingredients. This is something that we are very interested. Not only the diversified proteins, but also everything that can improve basically the composition of the product. So also natural colorants or the binders, for example. Also, I would like to mention here two startups, Phytalon and Mila. Onego Bio, there was made a lot of waves recently. They produced the animal-free white egg. Also, all solutions for food and health. And I could tell you much more. So if you want to know more about what we are interested in, if you are a startup or if you are an investor who would like as well to co-invest with VIT Food, or if you are a corporate, just to know and see what is in our portfolio, just grab me somewhere today.
Thanks, Eva. Very, very interesting. Arik, of course, you can give the perspective by startups.
Yes,
what are you watching about
I'll give
macro trends?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give it as lean as possible. So we are a company. We're not an investor, but I think that something that one should look for is, I think the key word is added value. A lot of, in our sector, a lot of plant-based companies, a lot of cultured meat companies, and one needs to understand exactly what's the difference between each company, because at the end, food is a commodity. And if we are looking at a cell line, for example, or a submission for regulatory approval in a certain company, you need to understand exactly what's the difference between one company and the other. And I think the other key element is IP. So what can be protected and what won't be able to protect it. If you cannot protect what you're doing, there's a problem. I think that we've identified the printing sector as something that can distinguish between one company and another. That's what we are developing, and it can be protected. So if you develop a printer, for example, that can 3D print meat or plant-based meat or cultured in the future, first of all, the printer can be IP protected, so no one can copycat it. And the other thing is that the end product, the output, can be distinguished between one that is not printed. So we've identified the 3D printing as a technology that may take this sector that our company is active in to a different level.
So Arik, IP, it's still a reliable asset to spend with investors?
I think so. I think that if we are talking about the first question, I think that 2 years ago, venture funds invested in companies like this. They didn't really look beneath the hood to understand exactly what's the IP. Is it protected? Is there prior art? Is there not prior art? They wrote checks, and I heard many funny stories or not so funny stories regarding these checks. Today, I'm sure that the VC thoroughly check exactly what's the difference, can it be protected, what's the time to market, as I said before, and is it disruptive? If it is, how is it disruptive? So I think it's, as we said, I think it's a very positive thing that happened.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Same for us.
Thanks. Jill, you operate on the whole value chain.
So I personally like to look at kind of really high-level shifts happening beyond food and ag, and then ask myself, are these things that are going to start impacting us, and do we need to start looking for companies or helping form companies that can be part of that shift? And I'll explain one, for example, it is everybody's talking about, maybe some are using here, is, the GLP-1, for example, yeah. We're all talking about obesity for years, etc. Suddenly the pharma industry, in a way, might take away the lunch of the food industry, yeah? How does the food industry react to that, And are we going to start seeing new products being developed for the effects of people taking GLP-1? Maybe the food industry can develop products themselves that people can eat food instead of taking GLP-1. So that's one example. A second one is longevity becoming a huge topic in the healthcare, medical space. Food is the number one thing that impacts our health. Why can't food start playing a bigger role in longevity? So that's the second one. I mean, third one is, the topic of climate change we all talk about, but, with all the drought happening, etc., can we start having seeds and crops that are more resistant to climate change? We recently co-invested with Pink in a really interesting Swedish company called Dolsaro that is doing this exactly in the wheat space. So some of those kind of systematic shifts are very, very interesting for me. Regenerative agriculture. The main interesting thing is about that usually there's not a lot of companies still, right? Because, you know, and I see this again and again, the food industry has waves. You remember, I always like to say when I was in Mondelez, we talked about alternative cacao. We invested, there were maybe 5 companies. Today, every day I see another 5. Some of them are here and it's great. So it's in waves. So probably today we're talking about a few topics and in 2 years we'll see 20 companies. That's, as an investor, it's really interesting if you can catch that wave before it happens, start building a speciality and expertise and betting on these companies. It's very, very interesting. And the last one I'll say is fintech. Fintech in agriculture is very, very interesting. I see very few companies. If anybody working on something here, please let me know. Dying to invest in that space. The fintech revolution has not arrived yet to the agriculture space enough. And the inspiring entrepreneurs, that's a fertile area to build a company, in my opinion.
Thanks. Thanks, Jill. Marta, which ways are you riding?
Yeah, well, I fully agree again with Gil. I mean, we look onto secular trends, and one of the trends that we're looking is health, of course, everything that affects health, how food impacts on what we eat. And I think the consumers are not only looking for sustainability in their products, but also they need claims. They need to understand what that they're eating, how are this is affecting to the body. So that's something that we're looking at. We're also looking into agriculture and how that is changing the market. However, we find it difficult to invest in this type of companies given that they have a long time to mature. But we love what they're doing, and also there is some regulatory hurdles there that has to be moved and changed, and well, that's of course a trend that we look. And one of the things that particularly we look in McWin, and you mentioned about the delivery and space, is given that we own restaurants, we own more than 3,000 restaurants all over Europe, and delivery, for example, it was a great trend in the past, but it's here to stay, right? I mean, it is something that we're not going to stop ordering meals because it's not economically feasible. So we need to find alternatives where it becomes feasible, and I just saw some robot here, and well, I mean, these type of technologies we need to find in order to make something that we use feasible economically. So, yeah.
Thank you, Marta. Delivery is a particular topic. let's put it apart. We analyze very, very good the present, but now let's switch to the future. Let's bring hope, because I suppose people here are looking for hope. And after I've reached the lowest point in 2013 about the investments, is there room this year to reverse this trend? Or we have to wait longer? Let's bring a little bit of hope. Eva, what do you think about it?
I'm positive, but it will take time for sure. It won't happen very quickly. What is helping a lot of what I see here in the region is the interest in general in the green transformation, in clean tech, ESG, all those things. On the side of the companies and on the side of the investors. I mean the companies, I mean the corporates, yeah? So they are looking for new solutions. They are going to work on the decarbonization, decreasing the GHG emissions and so on. So this will for sure help, because they will look at the tangible solutions that can basically, help them to do this. So this is one thing. And the second thing as well in the region is that we, as I said before, we have some public funds, luckily, and they will be a little bit more within the next year. So hopefully this can be used as well, for example, I don't know, for scaling up or improving bioreactors for the protein diversification shift. So all those things, yeah, I'm, let's say, positive, but it will take time.
Okay, thank you, Eva. Arik, what do you think about it? Still by your perspective.
I'll stay as short as possible because I see we have a minute or something. So as a entrepreneur, I'm always optimistic. Like that's, if you're not optimistic, you are closing your company before you establish it. So I think that we had a few tough years. And as you said before, like people will continue to consume meat. The demand for alternative protein is still like rising. So I think my personal opinion, I think it is linked to global economics, to the election in the United United States. We are a few months away from the election. I think that an investor likes to invest when the uncertainty levels are low. I think that by the end of this year, I think we will know exactly what is happening globally, all the challenges, the confrontations, the election in the United States, and I hope that we will see a shift. That's my personal hope and opinion.
Thanks, Arik. Very, very insightful. Jill, what do you think about it?
I'm not optimistic about the elections in the US, but I am optimistic about the food and ag space. Listen, it's not going away, right? It's a $10 trillion industry. We all eat, we all drink, we all need to do farming. So it's not going to change. I mean, we need to separate between hype and lows in the investment world to the industry. This industry is not going away, different some other industries that are coming and disappearing. Food and ag is not going away. It's the least digitized industry from the largest, from the top 10 industries. So there's tremendous opportunity. The two biggest trends in the world around health and climate, both of them food is addressing in ag. So for sure it's here to stay. I think we just need to know it's staying in a different way, and I think it's a good way. You know, we're not in the hype business anymore. We're in the real businesses. And I think, entrepreneurs should also, and investors to think about it. How do we make revenue? How do we actually build real companies and not just PowerPoint? And I think that's something that we all need to kind of understand. That's the new reality, and I think it's a good one.
Thanks, Jean. Marta?
Yeah, well, yeah, I am positive. I think it is a great, exciting moment for companies now, and also for funds investing in these companies. I think we find better companies now, and we find more mature founders, and so as we can now address many of the issues that we were trying to address before, and with more real issues or topics to do.
Thank you, Marta. Guys, you have been great because we started a little delay, but we are perfectly on time. We just have some minutes more for some questions by the public. Guys, don't be shy. No questions? Wow.
Maybe ask if someone wants to receive an investment from here. So
Yeah.
going up.
So guys, I think that you come back with some content, with you knew something, you improved your personal heritage about agri-food tech. So we thank you, our speakers, Eva, Arik, Jill, and Marta, and thank you for listening us, for heard us.
Thank you.